Some diseases just don't care who you are. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 celebrities whose HIV/AIDS diagnosis shocked fans.
After a battery of tests and spinal taps, all that crap, they walked in the room and said, boom, here's what's going on.
For this list, we'll only be looking at individuals who had a place in the public eye prior to contracting HIV/AIDS. This means we'll be ignoring people who exclusively became known because of their diagnosis or related activism, as that's a list for another day.
And, no matter what people say about you, you still have to stand up for what you know is right.
Number 10. Gia Carangi. Turning professional at just 17, Gia Carangi was quite possibly the world's first supermodel. Unfortunately, she was also one of the first high-profile female HIV casualties. A model for both Versace and Armani, and a familiar face to Vogue and Cosmo, Carangi was also a Studio 54 regular and cocaine user.
I do be the prettiest girl. I do be that.
As she pushed harder into drug use and developed a serious heroin addiction, Gia's career began to go off the rails. But the shift to heroin ultimately proved fatal. A hard drug user throughout her brief adult life, Carangi most likely contracted HIV from a shared needle and was diagnosed HIV positive following a bout of pneumonia in June 1986. Carangi died of AIDS-related complications in November of the same year.
Because I didn't want people to see her like that. I wanted them to remember her as beautiful. Because that's what she really was.
Number 9. Rock Hudson. When HIV and AIDS were thought to be the disease of junkies and promiscuous homosexuals, 59-year-old old guard actor Rock Hudson became the first mainstream celebrity to fall victim to AIDS. Although a closeted homosexual, it's thought that Hudson actually contracted the virus through a blood transfusion in 1981 while undergoing heart surgery.
But the nature of his illness has become clouded in mystery and confusion. Yesterday it was reported that Hudson had liver cancer and possibly AIDS.
Diagnosed in 1984, the actor publicly denied his status until 1985 when his declining health made it impossible to hide. And he died of AIDS complications that same year.
Movie star Rock Hudson died at his Coldwater Canyon home this morning. His publicist says that the movie star's body has already been cremated.
Coming out with his diagnosis not only made Rock Hudson the face of AIDS, it also triggered a change of public opinion on HIV/AIDS, as well as an almost instant increase in government funding for treatment and support programs. Unfortunately, Hudson's death also brought out a lawsuit from his former partner, Mark Christian, for emotional distress due to his failure to disclose his HIV-positive status.
You know, I found out he had AIDS.
How?
Watching it on TV in his living room.
Right.
Number 8. Pedro Zamora.
And the questions were like, am I gonna die? When? How?
HIV positive at 17, Pedro Zamora had already gained some attention as an AIDS activist, but it was his appearance on MTV's The Real World that made him a household name. Sexually active by his mid-teens, the future advocate hadn't taken precautions, as he thought AIDS was only a risk to sex workers and drug users.
Your total helper's T cells are 32 right now. So that's a drop for you.
Following his diagnosis, of which he learned after attempting to donate blood, Pedro dedicated his life to making sure others would not repeat his mistakes. Openly gay and open about his status, Zamora used the show as a platform to raise awareness and educate the public, even if the audience didn't know he was doing it.
He hit bottom. There was something wrong. He was disoriented.
Pedro allowed The Real World to follow him even as his health took a sharp decline, and, in a sad note of irony, died hours after the final episode aired.
I want to announce that we've named today Pedro Zamora Day.
Number 7. Greg Louganis.
My name is Greg Louganis. I'm gay, and I'm HIV positive.
A 3-time Olympic veteran, multi-medalist, and absolute picture of health, Greg Louganis' 1995 HIV reveal and frank talk about his homosexuality were absolute shockers to the sports world. Diagnosed just prior to the 1988 Olympic Games in Seoul, South Korea.
Yes! What an athlete!
The diver kept mum about his status, knowing that it might prevent him from entering the country. At the Games, Louganis competed through a concussion he acquired when a poorly executed dive saw him split his head on the diving board, an accident that took on a whole new weight in light of his later HIV reveal. At the time, the gold medalist never expected to live past 30. while his 1995 announcement came at the cost of the bulk of his sponsorship deals.
I knew that I wasn't welcome, you know, because
That had to hurt.
It was pretty hurtful.
By the 2000s, Louganis began giving up on treatment and even sold his life insurance policy. But as of late 2016, he was not only very much alive, but also thriving. Number 6. Isaac Asimov.
We not only have to expect change, but we have to be able to control it a little bit.
An elderly, card-holding member of Mensa, and a revered author known as much for his friendly mutton chop sideburns and horn-rimmed glasses as he was for his 3 laws of robotics.
You know what they say, laws are made to be broken.
No, not these laws. They're hardwired into every robot.
Isaac Asimov wasn't exactly the stereotypical 80s HIV victim. One of science fiction's big 3, Asimov contracted the virus from tainted blood during heart bypass surgery in 1983. The author began to show symptoms within a few years of the procedure, but the revelation of his diagnosis was initially delayed by doctors, who later advised him to remain quiet about his condition rather than subject his family to the stigma. By then, Asimov's heart had been infected, and his 1992 death was falsely attributed to heart and kidney failure. It was only in 2002 that Asimov's widow revealed the true cause of his death. Number 5. Eazy-E. Fathering multiple children with multiple women, Eric Wright, also known as Eazy-E, was of the opinion that he'd contracted AIDS through unsafe sex. Suffering from what he thought was asthma, Wright was instead diagnosed with AIDS in February of 1995.
And one of the pioneers of gangster rap, as the leader of the group NWA, has revealed he has AIDS.
The rap mogul broke the news of his condition on March 16th, dying just 10 days later. Although the details of his death have since become rife with conspiracy theories, some involving tainted acupuncture needles, others allegedly involving Suge Knight, E himself did not question his fate, and instead used his last days to make amends and urge fans to educate themselves about HIV and AIDS. Number 4. Charlie Sheen. Coming from a legendary Hollywood family and once TV's highest paid actor, Charlie Sheen has been in the public eye for much of his life, and not always for positive reasons.
But you love to party.
I mean, what's not to love?
The spotlight turned towards him even more glaringly in late 2015, when he disclosed that he'd been diagnosed with HIV 4 years earlier, and that he'd been blackmailed into paying out millions of dollars to keep the story quiet.
I'm here to admit that I am in fact HIV positive, and I have to put a stop to this onslaught, this barrage of attacks and of sub-truths.
Though Sheen had been known for his bad boy ways and an extravagant lifestyle filled with women and addictions, the reveal made headlines around the world with mixed reactions.
I would never do to anyone what Charlie did to me. That is giving someone a possible death sentence.
While Sheen said he doesn't expect to become the face of the disease, he did say he hopes to lessen the stigma of HIV/AIDS in the public eye.
How are you treating yourself? Are you eating well, differently?
I'm eating,
what are you doing?
yeah, exercise, diet. It's just all the basic stuff, you know. Don't you know, go on benders anymore. Don't do drugs. Don't drink as much. Just you know, health 101 essentially.
Number 3, Liberace.
Here he is, in concert, what we've all been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, Liberace!
Capable of pulling in $50,000 a week in 1955, Liberace was one of the most successful and certainly highest paid entertainers of his lifetime. However, $138,000 from a stop at Madison Square Garden didn't make Mr. Showmanship immune to the tabloid press questioning his sexuality, even as early as 1956.
Listen for a moment. I'll toy idly with the keys and set the mood again.
Never coming out during his lifetime, Liberace proved to be just as cagey when it came to his health. Diagnosed as HIV positive in August of 1985, the pianist was determined to take his secret to his grave, denying not only his condition, but also the potential to become a high-profile spokesman for AIDS-related causes. With his health continuing to dwindle, the self-described one-man Disneyland played his last concert in November of '86, and he passed away due to AIDS-related pneumonia in February of 1987.
In a dramatic turn of events, Liberace's body was seized and brought back to the coroner's office for an official autopsy.
The coroner's report showed that before his death, Liberace had a blood test, and the results were startling. He tested positive for HTLV3.
Number 2. Freddie Mercury. Shy and retiring offstage and rarely granting interviews, Queen frontman Freddie Mercury was unsurprisingly reluctant to share his HIV diagnosis with the world. Never quite establishing his exact sexual orientation, Mercury denied AIDS rumors throughout the 80s, even after being diagnosed in 1987. When Queen failed to tour after releasing The Miracle in 1989, speculation only picked up, while Mercury's increasingly frail appearance did little to dissuade the rumor mill.
Just give me a call. Stop me now. Good time. Stop, yes, a good time.
Privately, Mr. Balsara buckled down to record as much music as he could before the end came, when he'd given up on his AIDS medication in favor of painkillers. Publicly, Mercury only confirmed his AIDS diagnosis a day before his death.
And he said, I don't want people to think that I died of something else, that I died of AIDS, and this is what it is. And it's time for us all to gather together and realize what it is we're facing.
Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions.
To assure them that ordinary contact with people like myself poses absolutely no danger to them.
No matter how far wrong you've gone.
Number 1. Magic Johnson.
There it is, it's over, and the most valuable player is Magic Johnson.
After 13 years with the Lakers, including 5 championships, Magic Johnson was forced to cash out early when he announced his HIV positive status in 1991.
Because of the HIV virus that I have attained, I will have to retire from the Lakers.
Learning of his diagnosis following a preseason checkup, Magic was urged to become a spokesman for the disease by AIDS activist Elizabeth Glazer.
The doctor tells you, and you just laid on the floor.
Yeah, it was, you're just in disbelief and in shock.
Becoming an advocate for AIDS causes and crusading against AIDS discrimination, Johnson was instrumental in helping dispel the notion that HIV is a gay disease and that a positive diagnosis is a death sentence.
I'm going to always be at the forefront of the HIV and AIDS fight. I love it.
Proving that it's not, Johnson actually returned to basketball in 1992, taking part in the All-Star game where he was named MVP.
Three-pointer, yes! Oh, my!
Earning a gold medal at the 1992 Olympics with the U.S. men's basketball team and staging a 32-game comeback during the 1996 NBA season, before retiring for good.
Oh, goodness! 3 assists for Magic Johnson, 8 points.
Do you agree with our list? Which celebrity AIDS reveal shocked you the most? For more eye-opening top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
I will continue to do what I can to help educate people, raise the awareness level of HIV and AIDS, care for people, and then also stop the discrimination against people who are living with it.